Welcome to the Hasn't Been 3 Days podcast with your hosts, Justin and BJ. And we talk about 3-day-old news. We talk about sports. We talk about whatever else we want to talk about and care about. You, the MVP listener, listen in. You laugh. You hate on our takes and opinions. But if you're going to hate too hard, don't let us know unless it's been 3 days. So welcome back to episode number 12. We are not influencers. Yeah, woohoo, we made it. We made it. Some seasons, like if you watch on Netflix, like I'm watching a show, this is totally random and sidetracked, but watching a show that is like the first season, the first 2 seasons were only 6 episodes. So we are now technically, if we wanted to be, we would be 2 seasons into the show if we wanted to go at that standard. I think that's a bad standard. But anyway, that's not the whole point. We are not influencers. We are impressionists. And I need to apologize and take the blame for this. This is the first week in 12 episodes that our impressions have gone down. And so I'm going to take the blame because I cried on the last episode more than once. And it just made more people not want to listen. But 1,362 impressions over the last 30 days. Also, I did not share the podcast correctly on my socials. My LinkedIn did not take it.
Your LinkedIn.
But here's the thing. I was talking to some ladies at work today. I work in an industry full of ladies. And a couple of them listened to the podcast. They were trying to catch up. I was telling them about having our WNBA expert on a couple weeks ago. And I said, when we had her on, our female audience doubled. Skyrocketed. And it's still that way. We're at 28% males, 62.7% females for our audience. So we're hoping that this week it changes because we are bringing on a man's man to the podcast. We're excited to bring on, I think it's we're bringing on the 5th piece of, we're not the 4 horsemen. We're like the 5 compadres, and I just made that up, and I love this, and so we're excited for that. We've had some great. Thank you for listening, MVP listeners. So, with that being said, we got a great guest tonight. We're going to talk about him in just a minute. But it's been 3 days, Justin. How's your weekend, man?
Well, did you watch this Ohio State game in Nebraska?
You know what? I didn't catch all of it. I watched.
Hang on. There's an offensive pass interference just right now.
Yeah.
Let's just keep on doing those over and over.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm a little bit different. I know we'll get into this a little bit later.
Don't even start with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Okay. So that was your weekend, huh?
Yeah, Nebraska football, they actually showed up this weekend and played decent on national TV. Probably should have been a game they won. They made Ohio State do a lot of things that they don't do. They just played them really tough, and maybe Ohio State was playing down to us. I don't know, but
so I do have one question.
Okay,
so we're going to get into this a little bit, and maybe let's just do this. I'm going completely off track.
That's fine.
We just did
No, you're good.
Let me just introduce to our fans, to our MVP listeners. We have our friend Jeff Heaston on tonight. Jeff, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're here. You are the epitome of a Husker fan, and so I want to bring you in for this conversation as well.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. Just happy to be here.
So I'm going to get into his introduction a little bit more later, but I want him to give his 2 cents to this because I have a question for you guys that are diehard local Husker fans. Here's in my season of life over this last year, and I'm going to make this is what I do, Jeff. I make things more serious than they need to be for this podcast, but I've had a season of life over the last year that has been unfair, injustice. I'll leave it at that. But I don't have a problem with missed. So I was a football ref. So I know what it's like to wear the stripes, to be on, to throw the flag. I know what that's like. Not at that level, but I know what it's like. I was a football ref a couple of years ago, and it was awesome experience. Here's what I don't understand. Head coach Matt Rule throws his headset down and gets a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, 15-yard penalty.
In a different game.
In a different game.
Correct.
But the national referee on the broadcast says, if you come out of the white,
100%.
which for those of, I was a side judge, so I was a line judge, so when you're in the white, you're going to get flagged. That's an automatic flag. We're told that at the high school level, at the junior high level. You come into the white and you get in my way, I'm throwing the flag on you because you're in my work zone. I'm flipping burgers and you're coming in there messing with the buns, I'm throwing the flag on you. He throws his headset down and gets a sideline warning?
Actually, the only thing I'm going to defend about Ryan Day doing that, and maybe someone can correct me too, he didn't actually throw his headset on the ground. He threw a big giant fit in front of the ref in the middle of the field and bumped into him. But yes, only got a sideline warning.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
so this is going to sound like sour grapes. I'll get that disclaimer out there. But, I mean, one of them coaches at Nebraska and the other one coaches at Ohio State.
Yep, 100%.
You're absolutely right, and there's
So-
longevity. I think longevity plays a role in that. You can be a head coach. I mean, look
at the tantrums that Harbaugh threw
yes.
because he could do it because he coaches at Michigan.
Well,
they're the
and not
Big
just
Ten's
because it's
elite
Michigan,
school.
it's because he's Harbaugh.
It's because
Wow.
it's Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but that's what I was going to say. You
Yep.
know, you bring in Urban Meyer to coach the Huskers, and he gets a sideline warning. You bring in Matt Rule to coach the Huskers, and he's not getting a sideline warning. He's getting the 15 yards. But here's the thing. I've worn the stripes, so I know. Not at that level, but you don't think about when you're wearing the stripes. You don't care about which two teams are playing. You care about making the right call at the right time and not affecting the game. So you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be the highlight. I threw a flag on a PI in a high school varsity game, my first varsity game, and I threw a PI on a downfield play that I was the line judge on, that I had to run down the field and throw the PI on, and I missed the call. Completely missed the call. It was incidental contact. Both players were fighting for the ball, but I threw the flag because I saw the contact. The white hat comes over to me. He says, "What did you see?" And immediately I said, "I think I need to wave this off. Incidental contact. I made a mistake." And I owned it. And so in the middle of this varsity game, rivalry game of these two high schools, end of the season, and we waved off the PI. Now, as a zebra in these places, if you can't be unbiased, I don't know. Again, I've only done it at the high school and junior high level, but come on, these guys are getting paid six figures to referee these games. And I know it was a different game and all these things. PI is a judgment call. I don't care who you are. I don't care what level it is. PI is a judgment call, and when you miss it, you miss it, and that's part of the game. But when you have a coach that is acting like a 3-year-old, I don't care what team he's playing on, what word comes out of his mouth. Again, in another game I had as I was on the field, my sideline, the coach was F this, F that, F this, F that, and finally the white hat came over and said, "One more out of you, and we're not only throwing a flag on you, we're kicking you out of the game."
And that's probably what should have happened instead of this warning thing.
Yeah.
And that thing, I think that's what upsets. Well, Nebraska fans are, and any fanatic is gonna, for any football team, they're gonna nitpick all of that, right?
And we are famously thin-skinned.
No, 100%, 100%.
I can own that one. Everybody is against us. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We say that a lot of games, but this last week's game was just something else.
It was bad. The
marking it short for first down.
Yeah, marking the ball a full 2 yards short, and then replay not buzzing that down was just completely.
So okay,
and then they come out this week and say, "Oh yeah, sorry, we got that wrong."
Whoops.
Then the next day, it's like, "Oh, the guy that we kicked out of the game, he can play next week because they're playing Penn State, number 4."
Yeah.
So, come on. Just
which
hot
I
garbage.
did not include that in our predictions, so you're welcome. But the marking the ball is a trained technique. Now, I am not saying there is not places where a referee can influence the spot of a ball. They can. They absolutely can. And they're looking to the side judges to make that call. So we are trained because we have to trail the play. Okay, as I'm just telling you
2 yards is a 2-yard game.
But here's
you don't have to trail that much.
No, you don't. And here's the thing: in that level, there's 6 referees, so there's somebody that doesn't have to trail.
There's 6 referees and a replay system
and a
replay.
Saw
what everybody else saw.
When I'm trained at this level, I'm trailing if the ball. So let me give you a little technical, and this is going to be bad radio, and I know we're not on the radio, but bad podcasting.
We're on the interwebs, so we're okay.
Yeah. So when the ball is opposite your side, so I'm a line judge, and the ball is opposite my sideline. I am allowed then, once the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, here's a little technical, then my job is to get even with that ball all the way down the field.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I'm sprinting down the field. And so when you come up to that, you're coming up and you're looking at where the ball. So when you hear this on the replays, and they're like, when you see the slow-mo and you're like, where's the knee down compared to where the ball's at? Why is the ball so far back? It's because your judgment as you're trailing that play is you're coming in from behind. So you're always going to be visionary behind where it was actually spotted. So you have to be very careful on what you're seeing, where that ball is, on which hash mark to mark it correctly.
The dude thought the offensive lineman was the running back. That's how bad it was.
It was bad.
And, we're sorry. And then the next day, hey, Ohio State, you want that guy back that we kicked out, that he threw a forearm to the guy's head? Sure, we'll let them play. It's such a garbage thing. Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, hey, welcome, Jeff.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's great.
These are the type of conversations we love having, and we've loved having with Jeff over the years.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot of football and a lot of stories with Jeff.
We can just rant all day on things. Oh my god! I
want to say this, Jeff. I'm so glad you joined us, Jeff. Here's the thing: we got it. Let me give a better intro for Jeff. Jeff, he said is our friend. He's our buddy. He's been a part of this group for longer than I have, and I'm thankful for that. Jeff, I'm so glad you're joining us. Nate and Brady have been on. Now we're bringing on Jeff. And the cool thing about this for our listeners that don't know is we talked a little bit about this with Brady. The relationship between Justin and I has spanned almost 30 years. And Jeff, you were friends with Justin before that. Then we got to Lincoln and we became friends and we all were hanging out. Justin moved away. Then all the different things so many different things have happened. So you have been the bridge to the friendships with Justin and Nate, and then with Brady and I, and then when Justin left and we were doing our own thing, and then Justin coming back and you doing your own thing and all the different things. So It's really cool to have our 5th compadre on, Jeff, and we're so glad you're joining us tonight. Jeff, man, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here and, catch up and talk about all the stupid things we used to do, and
So that brings us to so you I think you told us in pre-show that you do listen to the podcast. You've caught a few episodes or maybe all of them.
I had to make sure I wasn't slandered.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I mean, you could take us to court and got nothing out of it because we have nothing.
That's right.
But was there any of those conversations where you need to set it straight that maybe we got it wrong, or Nate told something wrong, or Brady?
The first
can't believe everything Brady says.
Well, yeah. First thing that needs to set the record straight is I believe it was 10 dates that I had.
10 dates at camp.
Yes. And yes,
yeah.
Your wife was one of them.
I do remember that. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
No, I remember the picture. Like you were sitting on some bench or some swing, and they were all standing behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that picture.
So,
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
and I think like I knew that I was kind of the bad idea person, where like, I would come up with the bad idea and then like, hey Nate, you should go do this.
Yes.
Yeah, that
And
sounds about right.
and listening to the stories, it's just like, yeah, I was kind of behind
Yeah.
a lot of that.
I will second that, especially the stories. We didn't get into a whole lot of this, but for our listeners that need to know this, one of the things is like we've crossed barriers in where we've worked together. So like Justin and I have talked about a little bit about where we've worked together. Jeff and you and I have worked together at a couple different places, and that's been cool. But one of those places where those stories were we didn't get into a lot of the stories, but that you were behind, like what you're saying is totally true, were the daycare stories.
Oh yeah.
Where you would plant the seed, and it was just like, let's see what we can do to get Nate in trouble. We did so much to just make him do our dirty work. So
Oh, yeah.
I would second that 100%. Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't there for daycare. It's probably
No.
a good thing.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you were still there for plenty of those. We might have to check with Brady, but I'm pretty sure I was a big part of the milkshake.
Yeah, you were there that night for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I think that might have been. I'm about 95% sure I got the liquid smoke.
You might have to, even as an adult now, you might have to help Brady understand what liquid smoke does.
I don't know what it does. It was,
Oh, okay.
it was in the
Dang.
fridge, and I don't
All right,
know.
that's
It's like,
fair.
hey,
I'm
throw
telling
this
you,
in there.
the only reason it was in the fridge is because my grandpa has the most incredible beef jerky recipe in the world, and with that dehydrator, one of the ingredients is the liquid smoke, and so that's what we used the liquid smoke for. It was the only use we had for it, was for dehydrating, making beef jerky
And
Mm.
milkshakes.
and milkshakes. Yeah, I mean that's what it did end up getting used for sure.
Brought all
So,
the boys to the yard.
just
Two-
one boy to
two-
the
yeah. Yeah.
Went out to the yard and he was throwing up.
yes. Yes.
It's like a dog dragging his butt on the carpet.
So with that being said, Jeff, I'm curious. Your stories with us span multiple fragments of this relationship for sure. So let me ask you, what is one of your favorite stories with either the four of us or the five of us, or even more so, just including some of us? What is one of your favorite stories with the Rabels, with the Thielanders, with just, Connecting Point youth group, whatever it is?
Well, with the Rabels, I think this was pre-Thielander. Justin and I used to bond over our love of David Letterman and Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
So we had a stretch, I don't know how many weeks in a row, but I would spend the night at your house on Friday nights, and it had to be 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and we would toilet paper a house.
Yep. 100% we would.
And your dad was
Driver.
Your dad was like evil genius inspiration.
Yeah. He was the driver.
Yeah. So
I mean,
talk about things you can't do anymore with like the Ring doorbells and stuff. Like we would plot the neighborhood. I remember one time we did was it Boesiger's house?
Oh, out on the First Street, off of First Street?
Yeah, and
In
we
that
had
neighborhood?
and we had some fireworks that we lit off once we were done.
Yep.
And
it was
I
like
just-
1 in the morning.
I remember runing down the street
I
to the
do
car
remember this.
and just lights coming on because we set off these fireworks.
We TP'd his whole house, and then we lit off a ton of fireworks in his driveway.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
But now I do. We used to go TP people's houses all the time.
Yeah.
Every weekend. And
So that, I think that spanned both, because I remember some of those where there were two different people in the youth group that actually TP'd their own houses.
Byron Leffler.
Byron Leffler. Were you there, Jeff, for that one?
I don't know if I was there for that
You don't
one.
remember the time where he TP'd himself and we left him on the doorstep?
Well, that one was different too. That was
Oh,
I don't think I was
before
at
my
that one.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a Landon.
I do remember doing their house, but I
Yeah.
don't think he was there when when
Okay.
we did it.
Yeah, Byron TP'd his own house.
Yep, Byron TP'd it, and I TP'd my own house.
Yeah.
So those two, but I don't know if you were there for that one, Jeff, or not. But
I don't think
you're
so.
right. Those TP. I mean, Tim Rabel was paramount in those TP.
He would still do it to this
extravaganzas.
day
He would
if it
yeah,
wasn't
he's
for
kinda
cameras.
crazy. We need to
Yeah.
have your parents on the show.
I've asked my parents to come on, and they say, they politely said, no, we'd rather listen. I don't know. They said, I don't think my mom wants to come on. I don't know why. I think she gave some weird excuse like, I don't sound good on the radio or I don't sound good on TV. And I'm like, don't worry. We can make you sound like Cookie Monster if you want.
Can you make
Or-
me sound like Cookie Monster?
Well, we can try. Yeah. Power of the internet. No, I've asked my parents, and they've politely said no, and I just keep on saying why. Like, we can pre-record it and do it all, but
Yeah.
they love hearing the stories because some of the stuff, yeah, like Jeff says, he would spend a night multiple weekends in a row.
Oh
and
yeah.
we would go out and were you at the one house where we were TPing? I know BJ wasn't there, but Jeff, you might have been when we were TPing somebody's house and the lights. We were in the back part of the yard TPing it, and then a car ran through the ditch and rolled, and so everybody came out the front door, and then we were like TPing the front part of the house and then the back part of the house at different times.
I don't
I think it was. I
there
think,
for
man. Okay, that must have been like when I was really young and my dad used to go out with other people, but man, I know one time we were TPing and there was a car accident right outside the house we were TPing and all the neighbors woke
Jeez.
up.
No,
So-
all I know is we were good at what we did, and we never got caught, and we always finished the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I don't remember my house getting TP'd too much, but
my house didn't get TP'd because I lived in a neighborhood nobody wanted to go to.
That is true.
That's
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So one of the other things that comes out in these stories, Jeff, is all the car rides that we took. And so I'm just curious because, again, trying to remember who was all part of certain car rides. Was there any car rides that you in particular just remember vividly of either that was really cool or why am I even here? Right?
Oh,
or
I mean,
we almost died.
they just all blur together. I mean, we did so many stupid things, like passing stuff back and forth, driving down 70th Street.
Yeah, I do remember.
And then, okay, who had the black car with the T-tops? Was that yours?
That was me, and then I sold it to Nate.
Nate, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
Nate put dead fish in it.
Yeah.
We-
yeah.
I don't remember who was driving, but we used to ride around the neighborhood holding onto the back of it, like sitting on the trunk.
I don't.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
that
that
was-
was you or Nate.
That was Nate. That was
Okay.
Nate. Yeah, I vaguely remember a couple of those times. I mean, when we took the T-tops off, it was crazy. I think, Jeff, you were there the night that, so Justin's referenced this before where Becky was around and Justin fumigated my house and we got out in the car, and maybe this was in Justin's Daytona because it had T-tops as well.
No.
But we went for a ride because Justin had fumigated my house with his rectal fumigation, and we had the T-tops off. But it was winter time. Like, we were in coats. Like, Becky was cold, and she was riding in the back. But I thought you were with us. Were you with us for that?
That doesn't sound familiar.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't fart that much.
The-
See, even Jeff said so.
Yeah, the other thing that, like, I don't know how we're still alive. There was one winter when it snowed a bunch, and we went to the church parking lot, and we tied a long rope to somebody's trunk, and we were tubing around the parking lot.
Oh,
That wasn't. I must have been in Kansas City at the time.
I wonder if you were gone.
Yeah.
I remember Nate and Brady.
I was gonna say this sounds.
Beth was there.
Beth was there.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, so I must have not been there.
I think it was that black car.
Yeah, that black car went through a lot of stuff.
Well, then that would have been Nate when he had it, because I don't remember that, but that fits with what we did for sure.
Oh yeah.
Fits. Yeah. Why some of our brain cells are not there.
I always say, like, I don't tell my children these things because they don't need my help coming up with stupid things to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll come up with their own why am I alive stories, and they don't need my help.
Here's one of the coolest Jeff stories I remember. Jeff was getting ready to graduate high school, and for some reason we were talking a lot about the draft and NFL draft, NBA draft. And Jeff, you were so adamant that you were going to put in you were going to put your name into the NBA and the NFL draft. Do you remember this? Did you do that?
No, I didn't. But
I have a good story to go with this.
I do remember that though, because that was when NBA players could go straight from high school.
Right.
So it's like, I'm done with high school. I'm going to go ahead and declare for the draft.
Yeah. And those of you that are listening, I mean, I know you can't see us. We can see each other, but Jeff is all of like 5'4", 5'5". Right. There's no way he's going to the NBA.
He's
but he
got
was
to be 5'6".
5'6". I don't know how tall you are, Jeff, but I just thought it was so awesome. And you were just so dead set on, I'm putting my name in the draft. We're doing this.
Yeah. The other thing about Jeff and future football contracts, Jeff, do you remember with Nick Messing on a paper plate at my house, you wrote out a contract saying that you'd play for Nebraska football?
I do remember that.
I think until my dad put in a new microwave, that was still sitting up in the cupboard for the longest time. It was wrote on a white paper plate in red ink, and you and Nick signed it because you kept on saying, "Yeah, I'm going to play for Nebraska." And Nick's like, "No." And you're like, "Let's sign it." I don't even remember what you guys said that you were going to do, but
I don't remember either.
But you do remember that, though, right?
I remember that. I didn't even play high school football.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's okay. You played it on NCAA.
We used to on Sunday afternoons. The stadium was open. We'd go down there and play football.
Yep.
Yeah, we told.
I told my kids about that, and Noah was just amazed that the stadium was just open. It's like, you could just go in there. I'm like, no big deal.
And not only the stadium football games, those were really cool, but also the ones in our front yard. When I know Jeff was part of those, those were awesome. I mean, we would get out there in the snow and just go to town on that front yard. That yard was huge, or at least it seemed like it was.
There was one point in time we got a hold of football pads and helmets.
Yes.
And I think I knocked Brady unconscious.
Yep. It was, we did. We took turns putting the pads on because we didn't have enough for everybody. And it was like playing Bull in the Ring. It was, I do remember that now that you say that. Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Jeff, do you remember the time in my backyard when Billy Conklin knocked me out with that boxing glove because we were shooting videos? Remember we were doing the video series about burgers in small towns, and then we were doing, what was it, like Fight to the Death or something, and we did it at the cemetery. And we were doing all.
I think about that every time we go to Kansas City. Drive past that cemetery on Highway 2. Because he pulled over, he was going to fight Nate to the death.
Yep.
That was a story that carried on generationally. That's another guest. We need to have Bill Conklin on this show.
Oh my.
That would be something else. But
good old
that's
Billy.
One that surpassed. That was before my time, and that continued to be a tale that was told.
Can you imagine if we had the technology we have now, just not from social media, but from like video cameras on our phones, like what are videos and stuff that we would have done?
Yeah.
what those would have turned out, and they wouldn't have been on VHS tapes right now?
We would have been arrested.
Yeah.
Well, oh, 100% we would.
Yeah. There would still be some bail being paid to get people out of jail at this point for
Jeez.
some of those. Especially, like, we talked about this the other week, but I know you guys did some more with the Nasty Boys videos and all the stuff that you guys did pre-Thelander time, but the squirrel video would have been, you guys would have been in jail for that, and there was a lot of different stuff that was crazy. So
Yeah.
Bill was a great source, but I want to talk about a story. I want to bring this up before we move on to anything else. But Jeff, tell us. Let's do this. Jeff, tell us what you do for a living. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your family. Tell us a little bit about what we need to know about Jeff Heaston.
Well, as far as for a living, I work for State Farm. Been working there. I think I'm coming up on 15 years now.
Nice.
Work from home.
The second time, or you're adding the first time you were there?
Adding the first time because that's what they do.
Oh,
So,
okay. That's
yep.
fair.
Yep. I worked there twice. Worked there for about 9 months, and then I was getting married and moved to California, and then graduated college and came back and worked there again. And now I work from my basement because COVID closed our building, which
Nice.
Is still for sale.
still for sale. If anybody's interested, there's a huge building that had a recently renovated cafeteria before they closed it. So
what's crazy for our listeners too to know is that all three of us, Jeff, Justin, and I, all have worked for State Farm, and we were talking about this pre-show. We've all worked there at different times. Some crossed over, but that's really cool. 15 years, good for you. Congratulations, man.
yeah, thanks. Have two kids, Noah and Hannah. Noah's 12, Hannah's 10. Noah plays a lot of soccer. He's really fast. He's the athletic one of the family. And Hannah is our performer. So she's within the last year and a half gotten into acting, and so she does a lot of plays and musicals. She's taken voice lessons and dance, and she's kind of found her thing, and she's really good at it, and she loves it. So
That's huge. That's awesome.
yeah, they take up all our time, but it's worth it. I always tell people I'd rather be busy with them than sitting around with nothing to do. So
It's amazing how kids change our perspective on life and change our life as a whole. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. Anybody that knew me 20 years ago would not have guessed that I've paid money to watch professional soccer. But
Yeah, I would probably
Here we
agree
are.
with that. Here we go.
I'm pretty sure I will be shelling out ungodly amounts of money in the next couple of years to go to the World Cup. So
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
just because that's what he likes. So
Yeah. And how long you've been married
we
now?
have been married for 14 years. 20, no.
Uh-oh.
I
Carry
failed
the one.
miserably.
Carry the one.
14 plus a few. 2007 is when we got
Okay.
married.
All right. 17.
Yeah. So it's we've lived in Tennessee and we've lived in Lincoln. So, and before we got married, I lived in California for a short time.
And your wife's still a school teacher, correct?
Yep. She's a third grade teacher. She had 1 year at fifth grade and was promptly moved back to third grade. She was not happy about her move to fifth grade. Which I can understand now that we've had 2 fifth graders in our house. But no, she's teacher and she loves it. So things are pretty good for us.
That's good. That's good. Now, so let's see here. Let's get into, I don't know, BJ. What do we want to talk about? You have something on your mind. I see
do.
your head.
I
your
do.
Mind really in here.
I do have something on my mind. One of the coolest trips I ever took was with Jeff and with his dad. and Jeff went to a school in Memphis, and I won't get all the details right, but it was really cool that Jeff was doing music management, and you could talk more about that a little bit. But one of the coolest trips we went on was a Bleach reunion trip concert, and your dad went with us to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Nashville, and then we went and we drove to Memphis to go see your school and see what you were about, which was really cool. I just want to say this to you, Jeff. I don't think I've ever said this to you, but that's one of the best trips I've ever taken. Being with Jerry, being with you, going to that concert, going to your school and seeing what you did was really cool, was really inspiring. But we were sitting in the Bleach, not sitting, we were standing at the Bleach concert. At the back, we were standing by the soundboard. And I'll never forget this. I tell this story all the time. I don't know if you remember this, Jeff, but we're standing at the Bleach concert, and Toby Mac is standing next to me, and you're standing on the other side of me. And you lean over to me and you're like, do you know who's next to you? And I'm like,
Nope.
no. And you're like, that's Toby Mac. And I'm like, okay. I didn't even think of it. And then Bleach brings him up on stage. He was just there to watch the concert. It was a benefit concert.
Mm-hmm.
And Bleach had come out of retirement. We were all Bleach fans. And so we went to this concert in Nashville with your dad. And it was one of the best trips I remember taking. And it wasn't you?
I went too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We were all there. It was Jerry.
You were
Jeff,
just talking about. Sorry.
And you and I think it was the four of us.
It
was
was
the four of us.
And that was just one of the coolest concerts. But then I want to say this to you, Jeff, to watch you in your element when we went to Memphis and you showed us the school and we got to see, I think we went to church there.
Yeah.
On that Sunday.
Sunday morning.
So we got to see you in your element, and it was just really cool. And I just want to say thank you for that trip, that time, and thank you to Jerry for his chaperoning us, whatever he did. I mean, we went, and it was just a great time. And I still tell stories of that trip, and I'm so thankful for that trip. And it's because of you. You're the one that taught me that when it comes to concerts and different things, if you act like you know what you're doing, you're going to get away with anything.
Oh,
exactly.
100%.
And I have used that so many times, and it's been awesome. So thank you for that trip. Thank you for showing us your school and just what you did. It was awesome. So
Jeff, do they still go by the name Visible School of Arts? Is it still around?
It's now called Visible Music College.
Okay.
They moved to downtown Memphis. This was after 2010 when I graduated. I was on the website last year, the year before. It's very different now than what it used to be.
Yeah.
But it was cool. The first time seems like I do everything twice. The first time I went there, and this would have been just before we took that trip. It was the third year of the school. They weren't fully accredited. It was kind of more of a hodgepodge. We lived in a Days Inn across the street.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you showed us where it was at.
Yep. And the school was in like an old catfish restaurant and just really kind of thrown together. But yeah, that was quite an experience. I mean, it was the first time getting out of Lincoln for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do have a question for you though. You went into that school for music management. Was that your degree?
It was music business.
Business.
It was back then it was a certificate because that's what they could offer. So it was a 9-month certificate. Yeah.
Okay. But then you came back and did you have an offer to manage at the time Casting Pearls?
No. I tried to.
Okay, but you had a connection with Voda.
They were smart enough to
Oh, jeez.
not allow me to.
Oh, come on.
No, I disagree.
No.
I disagree.
No.
You had a relationship with their band, not just Brian Olson, but
Brian and Case.
Case.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we work with
Casting
them.
Pearls, now Voda.
Yep.
We worked
And,
with them, and then we also did a lot of stuff with Remedy Drive.
Remedy Drive. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Jeff,
those were the days of doing concerts in Lincoln.
and doing
Yeah.
concerts at the church where I remember vividly the pews being removed from the sanctuary.
Yep.
oh
And-
man, what a horrible idea that was.
Oh, that was awful. And then
Remember the foam we put up over the
Oh
little
my gosh.
metal braces so people wouldn't hurt
Talk
themselves?
about like stupid teenagers and why did they let us do that? I don't know. That was a disaster.
A lot of trust. But we had,
But-
we had a lot of fun with those.
But that was the thing, though, Jeff. I mean, you were paramount in getting bands like Voda before Voda was Remedy Drive. We had at one of those aftershocks. We had Skillet, didn't we?
That
We had
was
Skillet.
that was at one of those lock-ins.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was kind of a go big, like let's try and do something, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
actually worked. I think that was successful.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very successful, and I just remember I'm thinking, man, and I had no clue. I don't think we ever had them in Lincoln, but you were the one that put me in. You kind of introduced me to the band Red, and I remember taking my kids to Winter Jam once Red hit it as big as Red got. I mean, and Red was this pyro show. I mean, it was crazy when we went to Winter Jam. And I just remember vividly some of these bands that you would talk about that I'm just like, I had never heard of them before. I think you were the one that introduced me to Barlow Girl.
Okay.
And did we go to Festival Con Dios together? Was
We
that
did.
you?
I was just thinking of that, and we saw that was the first time we'd ever seen Earthsuit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Half of and like Earthsuit was so weird, but it's just like you could tell immediately that like these guys have something.
Mhm.
And for those that don't know, about half of Earthsuit turned into Mute Math.
Mute Math.
And then Paul Meany from Mute Math is basically the unofficial third member of 21 Pilots now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Is that how that
He,
connection?
So they toured with 21 Pilots,
Yep.
and he produces a lot of their stuff now.
Wow.
So
Do you remember? I don't think BJ was in Lincoln, but Jeff, do you remember when we saw Mute Math at that downtown bar in
Knickerbockers.
Lincoln at Knickerbockers?
Yeah,
BJ,
it
I don't
was
think you
so
were there.
weird. It was so
No.
weird. It was at like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yep. And it was
And-
me, you, maybe my brother. I know Becky was there.
I think
I
there was
didn't
like
go, but I
100
was around. You guys invited me, but I didn't go.
I think there was like, I don't know, a couple hundred people there.
Yeah, and the drummer, remember what happened to his snare?
Yeah, he broke his snare, and
Instead
So-
of quitting and stopping,
he broke his snare, and he put a stick in his mouth, kept playing with his other hand, changed out his snare in the middle of the song without missing a beat. And it's just
Wow.
like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
but the crazy thing is somebody ran out to
Yeah.
a car and got the snare that they had. It wasn't even their extra snare.
Yeah.
It was just like somebody recognized
Yeah, it wasn't even
because we were
his.
sitting so close
We were right
to
in
the
front of him.
stage.
He
that
like
you-
it was like middle of the song, and he broke
Yeah.
his snare, and he
And
like
he looked
yelled
over.
out,
Yeah.
"Does anybody have a snare?" And some guy went to his car and got one, and handed it to him. He sticks the stick in his mouth, changes out the snare drum, and then just keeps going.
It doesn't even doesn't even tune it or nothing. He's just like, I'll do this on the fly.
It's ridiculous. Those
It
guys.
was-
and
he's also the guy that taped his headphones to his head
Yep. And yeah, anybody
with
that
gas
like
tape.
and so when Letterman's show went off the air, I don't know if you know this, USA Today did like a top 10 best musical performances on Letterman,
Oh, I think I've seen this before. Yeah,
and they were one of them.
yeah.
Mm.
I remember them on that show.
So you can find it on YouTube, and it's those guys were ridiculous.
Well, one other thing, that digital media has kind of killed everything. It killed me and Jeff's business idea. Jeff
Yeah,
and I
dude.
were gonna go into the music business together when I moved back. We
Mhm.
had researched a lot of things behind the scenes about opening up a music
Venue.
store
Mhm.
Yeah,
and a venue,
Yeah.
and then doing concert promotions on top of it.
Yep.
And then like Apple Music came out and all this other junk, but
Yeah,
whatever.
iTunes was just starting to
Correct.
come out.
Yeah, and we were like, because we were tired with where we got music from, because there wasn't
Mhm.
anything that was carrying the right things that we thought, and we just wanted to bring all the good music here to Lincoln, and there wasn't anybody promoting like they were. And talking about Bleach, we got them on the farewell tour. Remember when we had them?
Mhm.
We tried to do that at our church. We're like, I think we're needing a bigger venue, and we worked with another church in town, St. Mark's, and we pulled off
That was an awesome show.
that.
Yeah.
That was one of our favorite shows, and I know Jeff worked a lot, and we all worked really hard on that one. To just be able to bring them a band that, just to get them here, it seems kind of small now, but it was pretty big back then to get them to come to Lincoln. And the funny things,
a lot
the
of
riders and the stuff we fed them. I remember we gave them Lunchables. Do you remember this? We bought them Lunchables for treats in the green room. It was funny. They loved it. They're like, we don't ever get these on the road. People always give us the same things. They're like,
they were always like, everybody feeds us lasagna.
Yep. We're
So
like,
thank you for not giving us lasagna.
We're like, we'll give you Lunchables.
I remember that.
So,
but I also remember, I mean, it was a big deal because at the time, Omaha would have been the Nebraska stop for a lot of these bands.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to, you and Jeff and I know your dad was paramount, and your dad supported you in this, and that was really cool too. But to bring Lincoln onto the map for some of these Christian bands that were coming out, I mean, Casting Pearls, Voda, they were from Lincoln, but I mean, you know, we had Skillet, we had Remedy Drive, we had all of these people that you were paramount in bringing to Lincoln, Nebraska, rather than Omaha, was a huge deal because there wasn't a venue. That's why you guys had this idea. There wasn't a venue that was good. Knickerbocker, I mean, bars downtown that could seat maybe 100 people, but
there was a place that tried after the fact. I don't think they got off the ground.
That place out
Destinations.
Destinations not big enough.
At Back to the Bible.
Back to the Bible, yeah. Out there for Cornhusker.
They did a few shows. I don't know how long that lasted. Omaha actually had a really cool venue. I guess not Omaha Papillion, that we would go to a lot of concerts at, but it must have eventually fizzled. Of course, I don't know. I could probably talk for a long time. Music industry kind of changed and everything turned on its head, and I don't know. In my opinion, the good Christian bands are not in the Christian music industry. Yeah. So it's just everything's changed.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that's really cool,
because Nashville got popular.
Yeah.
Well, money.
Money is right.
Money. It's all about money. Well, one of the things that's really cool too is Jeff has very strong opinions about sports, and I know we're getting to the end of our time here, and so we want to transition a little bit and change. But Jeff, one of the things I want to say to you before we transition to our picks this week is, I'm going to say this in a good way. It's going to come across not maybe you were different in a way that you didn't think things the way that the rest of us thought. And I love that about you. And I love the fact that you were just so true to yourself. And I love these opportunities that you provided because you thought differently. You had a different perspective on life, on sports, on everything, and you added a whole different element to my life, and I'm just so thankful for that. So thank you for being yourself and being true to yourself. And I have some great memories because of Jeff Heaston, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. And like, I don't know, too, like, I think about, I'm not the best at keeping up with people. Like, I'm pretty sure Justin and I have once a year we run into each other somewhere and say we should have lunch, and then, see you next year when I run into some random other place.
It hasn't happened. I mean, I saw you just a few months ago, so it hasn't been a year yet.
Okay.
But we're good. But the thing is you have text messaging now. You actually answer your text messages.
I do.
So that helps.
Like, I don't know. There's something about like the five of us three, and Nate and Brady, where it's just like, I don't know. I could not see one of you guys for years. And then we come back and it's like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's just whatever stupid things we did.
Always come back.
Well, like it bonded us together. Where
Yeah.
it's just like I know that if something goes down, like, and I need somebody, that the four of you are going to do whatever within your power to help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just kind of the way that our group is.
And that goes a long ways too about even our parents. Our parents were really close too, so that, you know, just being able to see that as we grew up too.
You know, we could probably, I mean, we've had Nate on and Brady on, and now Jeff, you're on, and we've shared so many stories, and yet there's so many more that we could share. I mean, you talk about parents, Justin. Jerry and Peggy are just are instrumental in this story as well. I mean, working at the daycare and Peggy being at the church, and then Jerry being part of the youth sponsor and just being in trips and the
Your dad used to yell at me all the time. My gosh.
I can't believe you didn't get like left in Colorado.
Yeah, that trip was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting and how, I mean, they were just involved in the church, and we were around that all the time, and it was so awesome to be a part of. With all of our families. So
it was. And one of the things I remember vividly too is when we started, Michael Downs was our youth pastor. Brian Quaid was there. You know, we should probably have Brian Quaid on the show too, thinking about that. But we started fantasy football at Lincoln First Church Connecting Point. Jerry was a part of this. It was when I remember sitting in Brian's office, pulling out the USA Today newspaper to get the scores to put the points together for the week. And Jerry was a part of that, and Todd and Jeff and all of us at different times was really cool. But one of the things too that I appreciate about Jeff, and I mean, it made me mad at times, but Jeff, are you still a Jets fan? Let me ask you that. Are you still a Jets fan?
I mean, probably one of the worst decisions of my life. Was to become a Jets fan.
Okay, what made you become a Jets fan?
So I didn't really have an NFL team. I always kind of rooted for a team that was bad the year before. And so the year I happened to grab onto the Jets, Parcells almost takes them to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I just kind of stuck with them. And little did I know that was the highest heights they were ever going to achieve.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this today, knowing that we were going to have you on the show today, and I thought, you know, I wonder when he started, but that makes sense. Parcells was a big get for you. New York, in the time of 9/11, I remember working. Were you at the daycare then too?
Oh yeah, I was in a daycare van, having just dropped kids off at school.
Yep.
Turned on Mike and Mike on the radio to drive back to the daycare.
Yep.
And they were talking about what was going on.
Because when you got my story of 9/11 was I had set up the daycare that morning, and I was working, and I remember you getting back from that school run, and you got the TV out, and everybody was in the school age room because Jeff was a school age teacher, and we sat in the school age room or in the kitchen and watched through the window, watched all the coverage of 9/11.
It's crazy. Like, I still can like feel how sticky that steering wheel was, and just like everything about that old red daycare van. Just like I remember turning on the radio and that was it, and just kind of being like on my drive back, just like this is not normal. Like this is different.
A big deal. Yeah, for sure.
And
well, go ahead, Justin.
I was just gonna say, and now your kids talk about it in history classes.
Yeah.
And they learn about it, and that's kind of what we talk about with my kids is what they've learned about it. It's interesting.
It's crazy.
We're the old people now.
Yep,
we are, which is kind of cool too. I mean, so Jeff, I want to say again, thank you you came out to my neck of the woods. When I tell people living out here in Oregon, it's been like living at the edge of the world, where my circle has shrunk so bad. for so many different reasons. But when you called me or you Facebook messaged me and said, "Hey, we're coming out, and we'd love to connect with you," I was so excited. So thank you for stopping by and having dinner with me, and really enjoyed that. So it's good to see you, for sure. So thank you for that. But thanks for being on the show. But we want to get to some picks and really kind of end this on some lighthearted note. I have to say this though, as we get into our picks. I have been losing badly, and finally, Justin has a 1-4 week. And but here's the problem: I didn't even catch up. So here's the thing: if you're listening to the show and you're betting games with Justin and BJ, you should stop. Stop now. Call 1-800-Gamblers Anonymous. Whatever you got to do. Do not put any more money in our picks. We're bad. Jeff is going to go 5-0 this week. I know it. I know he's going to go 5-0. But here's the deal.
He's got to do better than our previous guess.
He does. Brady's the best one so far. Brady has the best record. And so here we got 5 games to predict. We picked the largest point spread in college football. We picked the Nebraska game, and then we pick a couple different ones that interest us. I did pick the Jets again this week. So here are the 5 games we want you to pick with us. You okay to pick with us, Jeff?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here's the first game. We got number 18, Pittsburgh, at number 20, so it's a double-ranked top 25 team, SMU. At SMU. SMU is favored by 7.5 points. I picked this game because Pitt is one of the 8 teams that is still undefeated in the college football world. So number 18, Pitt, at number 20, SMU. SMU is favored by 7.5. Jeff, I'll let you start. Who you got here? 7.5 SMU.
I'll take SMU for the win, but I think Pitt covers.
So you're going Pitt with the points.
Yeah, undefeated's going down.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Good job. Justin, what you got? Pitt at SMU.
Defense wins games. Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 7.5 seems a lot for an 18-20 matchup. And Southern.
What time of the day it is?
Yeah, Southern. When your name says a church denomination in it, I just don't have a lot of faith in you to cover the spread. I'm going to go Pitt on this one as well, just because of my religious beliefs. So Pitt,
like the Methodists, I got it.
I'm going Pitt to win outright. I don't care what the score is. Pitt's winning the game. So, all right. The biggest point spread in college football comes from there's 3 games that are in the 20-point range this week, but the biggest point spread. So to stick to our guns, Kennesaw State. Anybody know where Kennesaw State is?
It's in Georgia, right?
I don't know.
I think so.
I think it is.
You're probably right. So Kennesaw State is at Western Kentucky.
Where's Western Kentucky at?
It's in Louisville. No, I don't know.
No,
it's probably
Georgia.
In Tennessee.
It's in
Georgia. Yeah. Western Kentucky is favored by 24 points. 24 points. Justin, who you got here?
Are they wearing those cool alternate uniforms this week?
I don't know, but they will have a W on them.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea. Let's just go. Well, Western Kentucky's gonna win, but they're not covering.
Okay.
No cover.
Kennesaw State for Justin. Okay.
Yep.
Jeff, who you got?
I'll take Western Kentucky because that mascot is like the scariest one I've ever seen. And
yes, it is.
I think that once the Kennesaw State players see that thing, they're not going to want to play. So
it's kind of like I remember playing
like
in
Red
junior
Grimace.
high basketball. Yeah, and the other team had like a 6-foot guy at 8th grade and could dunk. That's probably what you're saying. Is this mascot is that intimidating?
Yes.
24 points. That's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. That's a lot of points this late in the season, though.
It's a lot of points, but I'll risk it.
Kennesaw State is, I believe, they're like 1-6 on the year. I'm going to go with you, Jeff. I'm going to go Western Kentucky.
In Kennesaw State's defense, I think their one was also a massive upset, like a high 20-point underdog.
I think it was last week too.
So they have.
I think it was last week,
but they haven't seen that monster.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Monster.
I'm going to go with Jeff on this one. I'm going to take the expert's pick here and go with Western Kentucky. Then we're going to jump to the NFL. This is Jets. This is Jeff's team, the New York Football Jets. 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 One of my biggest issues with 9/11 and the sports world was because of you, Jeff, and because the Jets were paramount in 9/11 and getting back to playing football. And I don't even remember, I don't know if it was Bernie Kosar or who their quarterback was. I don't know. But the Jets were paramount because it happened in New York. And so the Jets were a big deal. Bill Parcells, all the things there. So we got the Texans, Houston Texans, going to the New York Football Jets. The Texans are winning record. The Jets, they just suck. I mean, the Jets are they're horrible. And Aaron Rodgers he needs to retire. He's not Brett Favre. He needs to stop this little charade. I mean, trade him to the Vikings and let him wear purple just like Brett Favre did. I don't know. But the Jets are favored by 2 points at home. 2.5 points. And I don't know. I'm going to pick first because I haven't picked first yet.
I'll pick second. Jeff can give us his opinion.
I don't like the Jets. I'm sorry, but I'm going Texans on this one. Texans are.
Oh, I'm going Texans as well. I don't see how. I mean, you get 3 points for being at home.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's a weird game. Yeah. No offense, Jeff. It's just an odd game.
It's fine. Texans all day. Jets are. I mean, really, outside of the Panthers. Is there a worse run team in the NFL than the New York Jets?
Panthers haven't fired their coach yet, so
it's because they're horribly run. Their owners suck.
Yeah. Owners awful. I hated the Aaron Rodgers trade when they made it. It was terrible trade.
Yeah,
they had all the pieces except a quarterback, and then they gave up too much for him. And I don't know.
So you're going Texans? You're going against your Jets?
Texans all day. Jets are awful.
All right. Yeah, Texans are playing good ball right now. That's good. The next game I got for us is so let me tell a story that doesn't involve either one of you, okay? I used to consider Pueblo, Colorado my hometown just because that's where I felt like I grew up. We lived there before we moved to Lincoln, and I met these two guys. And one of my good friends in Pueblo, his name was Josh, and Josh was a huge Lions fan back in the day. Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, John Kitna. I mean, the Lions teams that if they made the playoffs, they were lucky. I mean, they were horrible, right? But my buddy Josh loved the Lions, and now the Lions are legit. The Lions are a legit football team. And the Lions are 3.5 point favorites going to the Packers. Both teams have the same record. The Lions are going on the road to the Packers. They're 3.5 point favorites. The last time we had the Lions on the show, they were 3.5 point favorites against the Cowboys. And I believe they destroyed the Cowboys by like 49,000 points. So I'm going to go. I think the Lions are legit. I think the Lions, here's hot take of the week. I think the Lions go to the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree with you on that.
That's tough to argue with.
Yeah. I mean,
they have
everything.
So are we going straight across the board Lions on this?
I'm going to go Packers on this one.
Okay.
They played pretty badly in their last game. I think they kind of bounced back against a division team and led by future New York Jets quarterback Jordan Love.
That's awesome.
True. Is Love even playing this week, though?
I don't know.
No, he's out. I think he got hurt. He got hurt last week. He
got hurt, but I don't know if he's out yet. I don't know if he's been ruled out, but yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to go I like the Lions team. I got half of their team in my fantasy, so, there's my pick. So,
since I've been guillotined in our league that we started with the Guillotine League, Jeff, are you still in that? Are you still?
No, I was out week 2.
Okay. I couldn't remember, but I just have really appreciated some of our times of playing fantasy football together. But that's been cool. So the last game for us is one that's close to all of our hearts. We talked a little bit on the front end of the show as we introduced Jeff, but we got to bring in the Nebraska game. UCLA coming into Lincoln, 6.5-point favorite for the Huskers. Jeff, tell us your take on the Nebraska football Huskers.
Well, I think this game is going to tell us if they've truly taken a step forward or not. Can they put two solid games together? Because, I mean, in reality, UCLA should be overmatched in this game. So, I mean, Nebraska's shown steps. They've also shown that they didn't show up to a game. If Matt Rule's the coach that we think he is, then that's not going to happen again. So, Huskers roll.
Okay.
Ooh, Huskers roll.
Huskers
All right.
roll. What? Give me a score prediction just for S&Gs.
Well, if this was like the first couple weeks of the season, I'd say Nebraska scores like 42. Give me 28-3.
Oh.
Whoa, 28-3 Huskers?
I mean, if the defense plays like they did last week, UCLA is not going to get more than 3.
I was secretly saying in my head 30-10.
Okay.
I mean, Nebraska's going to win by 10. That's my pick every week, no matter what. So, which almost came true last week. Not the 10, but they won. Could have won.
Yeah.
But I mean, that post game, and I don't know if you've listened to this, BJ and Jeff. I don't know if you have. You probably have. But the post game press conference by Matt Rule after the Ohio State game is literally, there's an article written as like, you can tell that this guy, his dad was a preacher. He had this thing locked and ready to just say, just stay with us. It's not a moral victory. It's not this and it's not that. Just, this is the process. And so many people, he hasn't even been here 24 games yet. He hasn't had 2 full seasons. And they're like, well, he's got to get out of here. He's not the guy. And it's just like, Nebraska's done with that. Like, we have to be done with that. We can't.
Hold on.
There are. Okay, go ahead.
Because as an now an outsider who's a Husker fan, this is what drives me nuts about Husker fan, is that we do not give our coaches the time that they need. And especially
100%.
in this day and age when now you've got the transfer portal, you've got all the things that are going on. I mean, Scott Frost was supposed to be the savior because he's a hometown boy and all this stuff. Scott Frost was a freaking joke.
He liked his margaritas.
Well, I do too. But here's the thing. Matt Rule is a legit deal, and it's not just because he's a Nazarene. Matt Rule, he wins ball games. He's the Tim Tebow of coaching, except, I mean, people are going to say he didn't win in the NFL. He went to the Carolina Panthers, for crying out loud. Give him a break. He's won at Temple. If he could win at Temple and win at Baylor after they were 1-11,
they had a scandal.
Yeah,
and a scandal. He comes into Nebraska,
practically a death penalty.
Yeah,
with the scholarship limitations they had.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm with you, Jeff, when you say if Matt Rule is the coach we think he is, which I believe he is, and I've been saying this all year. He is the coach we think he is, but Nebraska fan has to shut the blink up and let their coach coach.
No,
Well,
you're right.
Here's the other thing on top of that. People forget how bad this thing was. And to build it the right way is going to take some time. And it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to be pretty. And they're going to have a game where they don't show up.
Yeah.
So,
two weeks ago.
Everybody likes to point to, well, look at Indiana. Look at Indiana. It's like, well, let's see what that looks like in a couple years.
Yeah.
You know, they're building it differently there.
Well, and that's what was said last year when you put first year head coach Matt Rule at Nebraska with first year at Colorado, Deion Sanders, and that comparison of the way Deion was building Colorado versus the way Matt Rule was building Nebraska. Now that was year 1. Year 2, Matt Rule went more transfer portal. He went more, let's steal some guys. Let's do this the way college football is going. But Matt Rule is still a development guy, and he's a system guy, and he's going to get the job done by doing it the right way, by looking at those players in the eye and saying, you guys have what it takes. You got to start believing in yourself. You got to start believing in this system. You got to believe that we're going to win, and we're going to do it. And I'm telling you this, Nebraska's going to win this game. They're going to get to a bowl game for the first time in 94 years, and that's going to be huge for the program. Huge for the program.
No, it needs to.
And Matt Rule is smart enough to know that good football teams are built on the lines, and building lines takes 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
So it's why Colorado had no chance against Nebraska at the beginning of the season. It's because that's not how they're building their team.
Yep.
And it's why Deion's not going to be there for very long.
Well, and Deion is taking a different approach.
He's taking a different approach. He's going
he's literally firing kids. He's like,
Yep,
we don't want you. See you later. I mean, just this week,
and it's not
he let 3 people go. They literally said, you can leave.
It's not going to work long term. They're quote unquote good now. Like they're in a weak conference. I mean, let's be honest. They're in a weak conference.
Yeah.
If they put Georgia up against them, they're not scoring anything. They're going to get run off the field.
Yep.
If they actually play a good team. So it's just.
But here's
different ways to build it, and
it is. But here's the thing, Jeff. I want to just say right now, I'm really sorry. Because Coach Prime is going to be your next head coach for the football Jets.
Oh my gosh!
And
I don't know. I think he's
go to Florida State.
He's going to Dallas. He wants to go to Dallas.
I could see that happening.
I could absolutely see that happening.
I think he goes to the NFL. He's not going to college anymore.
He's not going to college. I don't think you go from Jackson State to.
If he goes to college, it's going to be like Auburn, like a desperate SEC school.
Or do you think he would go to Florida State?
From what I've seen, that relationship is not salvageable.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
So, okay, over under Matt Rule, head football coach at Nebraska, 5 years, over under.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'll take over.
You think he makes this a career move for him?
I think the way he talks about his personal life and what it means to live in Lincoln and having his family all together, and the way he talks about the one thing he talks a lot is his girls and them being around women's sports in Lincoln, in the area. That is big to him. And his girls are at the age where it's going to be 5 or 6 years before they're even in the college. So, I'm going to say over. I mean, I don't think he's leaving. It would only be something where catastrophically he has to be let go. But
he gets Bo Pelini and wins 9 games this year and gets fired.
That's never happening.
It would have to be something where the environment has turned so toxic that he doesn't want his family around it.
Yeah, and I don't think
won't happen in Lincoln.
No.
Oh, that doesn't happen in Lincoln.
No.
People don't run coaches off like that.
No, but I'm saying from an atmosphere standpoint, right. I mean, nobody's leaving Lincoln, Nebraska by personal choice when it comes to this kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, Lincoln, Nebraska, yes, there's no pro sports. There's no other things that are there except for Husker football. Husker football is the god of Nebraska, but it's a culture that, like you've just said, as 2 locals, no coach is leaving there willingly.
Well, he's running the show.
Yeah.
The people in charge are smart enough to let him run the show.
Finally.
So why would he?
There's a president, AD that
run the show with a brain, though,
right?
And actually a process.
Yeah.
I mean, because Scott Frost ran the show too, and the AD Moose let him do it, and that was a crap show.
Yeah. No, but Matt Rule's he's got a good head on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. He's changing culture. He cares about these kids.
He has morals.
He does.
That just makes all of it.
Well,
even I heard.
If we get to the point where the only talking point is, now we have to get over the hump of beating top 25 teams, and we're not talking about bowl games, and we're not talking about this and that anymore, then, it's because he's improved things.
Yeah.
Because we're now looking at another milestone.
Yep.
That's a hump we need to get over. So.
And that's the thing, as an outsider Nebraska fan, I agree with what Justin's dad said and Nate is that we have to get to a bowl game.
Mm.
We have to get to a bowl game. That's where we're at. We're not a top 25 contender or beating these Ohio States on a regular basis. We could be, but that's the next step. That's not now. Now is let's get to a bowl game. Let's get the extra practices. Let's get the development in there. Let's get the recruiting in there. And that's what head coach Matt Rhule is doing. And as an outsider Husker fan who sees the whole landscape now in a different way, Nebraska will get to a bowl game, and then next year they will continue to compete to be top half in the Big Ten, to be the team that Nebraska – it doesn't take Nebraska long to get back to that top tier. Let's just say that.
And the thing is, with the way the playoff is now, they get to the bowl game as step one, but Nebraska's in a great position where they could get into the playoff without having to do a whole lot because of who they are and the conference that they're in.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just once you get to a bowl game, now it's about getting in that conversation.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you.
That's not a huge jump.
It isn't. Especially
that will be when Matt Rhule's on our podcast.
No, he'll be too big for ours. We need to get him now. Is what we need to get him now.
I'm trying really hard.
Okay. His people are like Trump's people. It's like they're not answering.
Drunk people. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that.
I also reached out to Tim Tebow's people. So
did you?
I did. Yeah, I tried to get him for our gala next year, and so I'm waiting to hear back on the podcast as well, getting Tim Tebow on. But no, I agree with you 100%, Jeff. I think that's the next step. I think being in the Big Ten helps Nebraska to be able to get over that hump. But again, this was the year where they could really set themselves up. Now with the schedule changes, I mean, they're probably another 2 years out from being in that conversation, because next year they're going to have the heavy schedule where they're going to get all the tough teams. If they show out, great. But Dylan Raiola's third year, they get another week schedule again. They're going to be in the playoff potentially because they're in the Big Ten and they can beat the Ohio State or the Michigan or the Oregon and be there and be the team that's ready to compete.
And those are the baby steps. The first step's make a bowl game. Second step is consistency.
Yep.
So you don't have that Indiana game anymore.
Yep.
Where you're showing up against the teams you should show up against and you're blowing out the teams you should be blowing out.
Yep.
And then next step after that is enter the conversation.
Foot on the gas. Yep.
Yeah.
Foot on the gas. That's what I've said all along.
Foot on the gas, foot on the throats when you get up again.
Yep.
Let's just do that.
Yep.
And being able to make adjustments, and that's what head coach Matt Rhule does. He makes adjustments. He's able to do that. I mean, again, I think the biggest disappointment for me this year, and I'm going to say this again, I know we're over time, but you're up 28-0 on Colorado at halftime and you don't score any other points. I mean, that's got to change. That's the baby steps you're talking about. I completely agree with you. You got to win that game 56-3. You have to.
But half those kids don't even know what a winning is like, though.
I know.
That's the problem, yeah.
But I'm saying in 2 more years, when you get Raiola as a junior who's a Heisman finalist, and they've got a team that's ready to go and they're undefeated going into the Big Ten championship, which we haven't talked about a Big Ten title game in how many years. I mean, this is doable in 2 years, guys. This is I'm not blowing smoke. I'm a realist Husker fan, and I'm saying in 2 years they could be in Indianapolis and looking at the playoff.
Well, it's the little things. You look at the Purdue game, the first half of the Purdue game, moving the ball up and down the field, but they're getting no points. It's that extra step of getting the points. It's the extra step. You're an inch away at Ohio State and putting it in.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's where they need to get to after making a bowl game. Is just that one extra thing to put you over the top.
Yeah, we could sit here and we could talk Husker football forever. We have for almost 30 years together.
We'll have a podcast bowl show.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to do, and we'll have all of our guests back on that truly care about the Huskers. Then we'll bring Brady on just to pick against them because that's
then we can hang up. So. Then we can hang up on him.
But Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks for going a little bit long with us. Anything that you just want to add? You want to get off your chest? We have quite a few impressionists that are listening. 1,300, most of them female. So, is there anything you want to say to our audience that you just need to get off your chest?
I mean, I don't know. I'm so far removed from that whole game. I don't know. You guys know me. I'm a no nonsense, no drama.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. Let's just ask you this question then.
Okay.
If we could bring on a guest, who would your recommendations be?
Oh my gosh. I think Brian Quaid would have some good stories. I think Billy Conkling would have some. I wonder sometimes how much like Billy would take us to stuff all the time and like let us hang out with him. I also think there are times that he just hated our guts. It just had to be.
Yeah, there's a possibility.
I mean, the older I get, the more I don't know how people just didn't disown us. I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is when they went. You remember when they went on the ski trip?
Yeah,
and we filled his car full of shredded up newspaper.
Newspaper, yeah.
And then we saran wrapped it.
Yep.
And
100%.
Just thinking about, if I was at his age, having been on a ski trip, coming home to that.
Yeah. Well, this is what he gets for telling people his code to his car.
I don't think he told us. I think we looked over his shoulder and
figured
it out.
He should have changed it.
He should have changed it.
Yeah, well.
All right. I ran into him a couple months ago. We went and saw Switchfoot, and he was at the venue doing Usher stuff out at Pinewood Bowl.
Yep, he does that with Rob Klukas, or he got connected with Rob Klukas doing that. So that's a guy we
have. There you go.
There's Klukas. We need to get 747 on here. We didn't even talk. Jeff, we didn't even talk softball.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta be careful. Rob's got an inside job with the university now. He really can't talk. He knows a lot of inside stuff. So he might not even be able to pick a game.
Well, we'll see.
We need to hear some stories. We'll have to reach out to him. But it was a pleasure to have you, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking time out of your probably your going to bed early schedule.
Like mine. I just won't get any work done tomorrow.
It's fine. Yeah. But we appreciate you coming on and appreciate your friendship all these years. It's me and you have been friends longer than me and BJ. So
you like honestly, I have known you like as long as my memory goes back.
Yeah, I mean,
like literally.
Yeah, I can't picture. Yeah, I mean, anytime I picture anything in the church, there was Jeff right there too. So anyways, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me, BJ. We'll have to do this more, and Justin, I'll see you in 10 months, and we'll plan a lunch.
Yeah, you don't live very far from me either, and don't run into you very often, which is odd. But
well, it's really cool, and as Brady said last week, I mean, it's good to have this avenue to where we can reconnect and just kind of emphasize the fact that friendship does last, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you, Jeff, for coming out and seeing me. I know you weren't coming out to see me, but thanks for spending the time with me a couple months ago, and thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for picking games with us, talking sports, talking life, telling stories. It's been great. We've gone over, but it's been awesome. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Justin. And here's to a lack of communication of irrelevant age news. We'll see you next time.
See ya.